Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at IONZ's latest. This is the KZ21, and it's bloody great. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so today we'll be taking a look at IONZ's KZ21, a ATX case for those budget-friendly people out there who don't want to spend a ton of money but don't want to compromise on things such as air cooling or water cooling or overall quality. This is actually a case which has really surprised me. Generally, when you're looking at more budget-orientated cases, you're looking for a ton of compromises, and to be completely honest, there are a few compromises, but none of them which in my opinion are deal breakers. All of the important aspects are covered, quality is there, tons and tons of flexibility, and best of all, the price. At the moment in the UK, this retails for less than £38, which for me is absolutely insane. For less than £40 for a good quality case with excellent air cooling and water cooling potential really does stand out above the crowd. So we're going to go through the case, do a quick teardown, go through all the pros and cons, show you some of the weaknesses, but to be honest with you, there aren't many, and then you can make up your own minds whether this is the case for you or not. We will be also following up this with an actual build and a live stream coming up soon, so if you want to see how that goes, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the chime button and you'll be notified of future video releases. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the case itself. Now the case itself actually comes really well packaged, so if you're concerned about it getting damaged in transit, being a slightly cheaper case, they often do use crappy foam and sometimes they do turn up as a little bit of a dog's dinner. Fortunately, this one's actually packaged really well. Got that really great quality styrofoam in there, which keeps everything well in place. The packaging itself isn't anything to write home about and is basically a brown box, so they've certainly saved some money there, which is great because that passes on to us, the end user. Included with the case you get a very small amount of accessories, but certainly it's enough to get you going. So you get a slightly Chinese manual, which yeah, most of you probably won't need this. Also you get an accessories bag with a PCI Express blanking plate, ton of screws and some cable ties as well to help you tidy up the build. So let's look at the actual case itself. Now some of you may be put off immediately and thinking, Mike, there's no mesh on the front, what are you talking about? Well, actually this doesn't need it, and for me personally, I think this is actually a really stealthy and stylish design. Now the front panel itself is actually fully metal, very solid indeed, and is very reminiscent to that of the Corsair 4000X or D series, with this front clip-on panel which is easily removable, just on poppers, and comes out really nicely. As you can see, fully metal, and at the bottom you've got the Segotap logo. I'm not entirely sure whether that is a brand of its own or whether this is a name of the IONZ brand. To be honest with you, not really sure, and to be honest with you, I don't really care. So with the front panel out of the way, you can see you've got this amazing setup for air cooling or water cooling, whichever the case may be. You've got options in the front here for 3 120mm fans, a 360mm radiator if you wanted to, obviously 240s and 120s, etc, etc. Not quite wide enough, I don't think, for a 280 radiator, but certainly you could try it. You can get 2 140mm fans in there very easily, so if you wanted to go down that route, larger fans, slower RPM, that kind of thing, then certainly you can do that with this. The mesh on the front is fantastic. I love this nylon mesh which is removable, so when it comes to cleaning time, you can just unclip it and stick it under the tap or give it a quick vacuum, however you choose to clean it. This itself, great design, and also because you don't have any bars going through the center, it does have a little bit of wiggle room on the mesh, but also if you've got any RGB lighting, it will allow it to come through and bleed through to these surrounding edges. So taking a look at the actual mountings for the fans on the front, they've basically cut out anything that isn't necessary, so there's nothing hindering airflow. Literally, the opening is the size of the fans, so airflow is going to be absolutely amazing in this. I'm really looking forward to doing a build on it. So that is pretty much it for the front. Again, for me personally, I really do like this design. It's very understated. It just does what it needs to do. You could have this in an office quite happily, or you could have it as part of your RGB gaming bling system, and it fits in really well with either. Obviously, as you can see, it doesn't come included with any fans at that price, but there are certainly options on their website and also on their eBay site. So if you want to, you can get it decked out with fans as well. I'll put some links in the video description so you can check out those as well. For me personally, I think this opens up a whole ton of possibilities. There are loads of cheap fans on the market, and also you've got other options such as obviously Noctua, Arctic, all those kinds of things. So you could quite easily get one of those Arctic 5 packs, put those in here, and you'll have a really great cooling setup. Moving around to the side, this is a really nice touch as well. You've got a handle on the side for opening and closing the glass side panel, and there are magnets as well, top and bottom, to keep it all in place when it closes with a satisfying clunk. Also, the hinges themselves are really nicely loose, so it's quite easy to move, and also you can take those off very easily just by holding the glass up and removing it. As you can see, there is a very, very fine smoke tint to this. Not entirely clear, but actually I quite like that. It is relatively stealthy. So taking a look at the actual chassis inside, again, everything here is as you'd expect. So you've got plenty of punch outs all over the place. So you've got two big ones at the top, so if you wanted to put a radiator in the top, you certainly can do. Also as well, for putting RGB fans or whatever, then plenty of punch outs there. There's no rubber grommets in this, which seems to be a thing that is not really divisive. Some people like to have them, but personally I couldn't care less. As long as there's nice big openings to get the cables through, I'm totally happy with that. Moving down from the top cutouts, we've got this really big area here for if you're putting custom cooling in, so to get access to backplates, etc. Nice and easy to do. Moving slightly across, you've got some cutouts here for taking through things like your main power supply for a motherboard, maybe for your GPU, or maybe just for some other cooling options. Again, really nice cutouts, everything's done really nicely and rounded off, no sharp edges to speak of. Moving slightly across, we've got another cutout here, which you're probably thinking, well, why is that there? Well, that is actually so you can actually mount some drives there. So 2.5-inch drives you can mount. You can put one there and one there. Now you can mount them if you want to on this front side to show them off, or if they're less pretty drives, then you can put them on the back side. Either way works absolutely fine. Moving down, we've got a really big cutout in this front section. So if you're planning to put a radiator in the front, then you can do. Although if you're putting a 360 in there, you may struggle to get the cables or the pipes for the water flow from the bottom up. If you're putting a 360mm rad in here, really you're going to have it pipes up, which is not optimal, but a lot of people do choose to mount it like that. On the very bottom section, we've got this really nice open mesh. So if you wanted to, again, you can put additional fans in this bottom section. So some of the air which is being pushed in underneath this basement can be drawn back up into your graphics card's path. Personally, I don't always like putting fans on here, but they do include longer screws as well, which will screw into the mounting points, so all of that is covered straight out of the box. One thing, again, I'm not entirely keen on is this open section here for your power supply. Again, if you're building a slightly more budget-orientated system, possibly you may have cheaped out slightly on your power supply, so you maybe don't want to have that on view, but obviously you can take the stickers off the side of the power supply if you feel the need. Moving on to the kind of rear section, so you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PCI Express expansion slots. Unfortunately, they are the captive ones, so you will need to bend them to remove them, which is a slight downfall, but to be honest, if you're looking at this case and you're looking at another case similar spec and price, and it comes down to between the PCI Express blanking plates, then yeah, you probably need to have a word for yourself. It isn't the end of the world, and again, they do supply a spare one, so if you do take out one, you can replace them, and they're easily available on the second-hand or used market. Moving back up to the top section now, we did mention that briefly. Obviously, you can put fans in there if you want to, or it's actually, there's a really good offset between the motherboard, which cuts off about here, so you could put a radiator and also fans in there. Some of the thicker radiators, such as the Arctic cooling range, you might struggle with when it comes down to your VRM cooling and also your RGB memory support. When we do the build in this, we'll actually go through that, and we will do some test fitting with certain radiators just to see how well they do fit in there. I would say realistically for the top section, a 240mm radiator would be absolutely fine, or two 120mm fans, or alternatively two 140mm fans. There is an offset available, so you can fit those in there. A 280mm radiator, I think, will probably be pushing the limits of what is possible, but again, that's going to come down more to your motherboard and your memory. Moving around to the rear, yeah, not a lot to speak about here. We've got space for a 120mm fan, which has got some vertical adjustment up and down. There is also as well, you can see on the back there, I've got this section, so that is the kind of gap you've got between the top of your motherboard and your water cooling solution. So if you want to do that, again, do your measurements first. We will be trying it out, but yeah, if you're doing this straight off the bat of watching this video, do make your measurements and make sure that it's going to be absolutely fine. From a really quick kind of guesstimate, I would say you've got probably 2 inches of space there between the top of the motherboard and the top of the case itself. Next up, we've got our I/O section. Again, pretty standard deal. PCI Express blanking plates. You've also got the, I'd never really understood what this bit is actually for. I think it's so you can use it so you don't have to put screws in cards, but generally I think most cards would be done with screws holding them in place, and this is basically surplus. But it is there. If you want to use it, you can do. As always, the screw has been done up ridiculously tight by a superhuman from the factory, but just you can move that and adjust it. For me personally, I would probably disregard this altogether, but it's there, you can use it if you want to. Moving down to the bottom, we've got space for a standard ATX power supply, and that takes us round to the back. So on the back, we've got a standard solid panel, completely flat, which is good to see. Sometimes you find on some of these cheaper cases, you get this kind of crazy hump in there for cable management purposes. I'm pleased to say that that isn't present on this one. The side panel is held on by 2 thumb screws, which are not actually done up by a superhuman, so they're relatively easy to remove. The panel has got a little bit of flex in, but once it's actually attached to the case, it fits in really nicely and doesn't seem to want to give or vibrate or anything. So taking a closer look at the back, again, we've got these cutouts here for your either radiator solution or maybe putting through your supplementary power supply for your CPU. Okay, nice and easy to do and really nicely cut out. Also, you've got some cable tie down points spaced out all around the section, so no issues there with cable management. And you can see slightly better now these punch outs. Again, you can put 2.5-inch SSDs or older HDDs from a laptop or something in there, so maybe if you're kind of rebuilding an older system, you could put some of those in there easily enough. Again, you've got pass-throughs there. Pretty decent depth for cable management, not a huge amount of depth, probably about 3/4 of an inch, which is absolutely fine. Also, you've got another section here for putting another 2.5-inch drive. That is on a regular screw, not a quick release screw, but you could put a quick release screw on there if you really wanted to. For me personally, I think this layout on the back is absolutely fine. Again, this huge section here for motherboard support for various types of coolers is going to be excellent. Sometimes you get them kind of offset, which are a little bit weird, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get rear panels out, but yeah, that looks to be absolutely fine. Moving down to the basement section, you've got space in here for one 3.5-inch drive. You can actually, underneath this, there is a mounting caddy, which is plastic. So that just slots in. You can, if you want to, you can remove that in its entirety. There's only 4 screws on the bottom that can be moved out. If you're slightly concerned that the gap at the front is a little bit too close to possibly where your radiator might be, you can undo the 4 screws and you can move it across. Roughly, I would say, I think it moves about 1 inch. Yeah, about 1 inch or so, you can move it across, so giving you a little bit more room for that cooling. Or if you're not using a mechanical drive, or you've not got a 2.5-inch drive, you can just remove that in its entirety. Power supply wise, you've got room in there for standard size ATX power supplies, and because you've got this low height for the caddy, wires can come out of the top there and can be easily stored. While we're on this side, let's talk about the I/O. So I/O is a little bit limited, which is a little bit of a downside, but not the end of the world. So you've got USB 3.0, there's only 1 port on the top. Then you've got your HD audio and your USB 2.0. So HD audio, you've got a separate mic and headphone jack, and for the USB 2.0, there's 2 ports on the front. So 3 ports on the front for USB, I think is absolutely fine. Really, most people don't tend to put that high performance devices in there. You're possibly looking at maybe a headset or a USB thumb drive just to transfer some files, that sort of thing. If you do need more USB 3.0s, obviously you can just plug it into the back. Moving on to the bottom, so this is where a slight compromise has been made, but again, it's not really a deal breaker. You've got one of these horrible filters on the bottom for your power supply, which again, isn't the end of the world. Every now and then just give it a quick vacuum. It is one of those kind of flimsy things, so it is a little bit on the cheap side, but certainly for the price point, I think it's totally acceptable. They are a little bit problematic to get back in sometimes, but essentially they're going to do the job of removing things like cat's hairs and debris, all that kind of stuff, so it'll be absolutely fine. There's the 4 mounting screws for the hard drive caddy, so again, if you want to, you can take those out and shove it across one or remove it in its entirety. The feet themselves are just plastic with rubber bottoms, which are absolutely fine, and I'm pleased to say moving it around on the desk hasn't given those usual black marks that we tend to get on some of these, so I think they're more of a foam than a rubber. So let's move on to the top of the case. So this is our front I/O, so you've got a nice clicky power button. Next to that, you've got a slightly recessed reset switch, which is actually quite difficult to press and does take some force to do, so you're not going to have any of those accidental reset moments. Next to that, you've got 2 LEDs, so one is for your hard drive activity and the other one is for system power. Moving on, we've got a microphone and headphone jack, which are nice and clearly labelled, which is something I like to see a lot more of. I find a lot of cases, even my Lian Li case, the 215, which I use on a daily basis, my video editing machine, whenever I'm trying to plug in a headset, it's always a little bit of guesswork of where the actual port is, that kind of stuff. So it's nice to see it just clearly labelled what it is. Next to that, you've got our USB 2.0 ports, and then you've got a USB Blue or USB 3.0. On the top section, you've got the removable magnetic filter, which is pretty commonplace. The whole space on there looks to be pretty decent, so it shouldn't impede airflow too much if you decide to keep it in place. Obviously, depending on how you mount your fans or your radiator on top will depend whether or not that is actually a sensible solution. If you're using it as an intake on the top with fans pulling air in, then yes, go ahead, definitely use it. If you're using this top section as exhaust, so if you're using a radiator and you're pushing hot air out, then really I would say that is more of a decorative thing, or just to be used to protect the system when it's not in use. Ideally, when it is in use, there's very little point of actually filtering outgoing air. Also, you can see here we've got the offsets, so you can put in there 2 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans with offsets there. And again, you've got a section here which fully offsets the whole lot from your motherboard tray. So let's talk about dimensions internally, what is possible and what isn't. So as it comes to air cooling, then you're up to around about 165 mils for clearance for the side glass panel, which pretty much covers most 120mm coolers. Things like the Corsair A500 is going to be a no-go, unfortunately. When it comes to graphics cards, plenty of room, obviously, depending what you put in this front section, whether you put fans or whether you put an AIO and fans, that is going to limit you slightly. So if you are putting a radiator and also fans, then you're going to be limited to about 290mm. If you're just going to go with fans on the front, then you're looking around about 330mm, which is fine. It's about 13 inches in American money. So yeah, plenty of flexibility. Again, if you're buying a case which is slightly more budget, under £40, the chances of you going completely exotic on both your cooling and your graphics card are slightly limited. But certainly, if you want to, in a future time, upgrade the system as prices drop, hopefully, then certainly there is potential to do that. So overall, actually, I'm very impressed with this. IONZ have not failed to impress me so far. They are putting out some really, really good stuff at some really terrific pricing. I honestly don't know how to do it. The quality of this case, I would say, you could probably say 50, maybe 55, 60 pounds worth. It is very comparable, some of those higher end models, but certainly because you're not paying for a brand name and also, I guess, economies of scale, etc., then this is coming in at a really good price. For me personally, it would have been potentially nice to see the front panel possibly available in an option of either a mesh or kind of glass. I think glass on there would have been really nice for those RGB freaks to see your light bleeding through. But even so, with this solid panel, the metal is going to give you some noise dampening as well, so that is going to be beneficial. And overall, I think it's extremely solid. There's very, very minimal flex. That is a very, very solid piece of metal. Yeah, so overall, very, very pleased. Obviously, if you want to see how the build goes in this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and you'll see how that goes at a later date, possibly on a Saturday or a midweek stream. We do release videos pretty much every day of the year, so if you want to see how they go, yeah, keep subscribed and you'll be notified of future video releases. So I think that's going to wrap this one up. This has been the IONZ KZ21. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.